Hello, hello, hello. Today is the 27th of June, 2022. You know, every 2 weeks we get a visit from Norm Winski. He's going to review what he's told us 2 weeks ago, and he's going to say what the planets and stars have in store for us the next 2 weeks. Norm, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Okay, I was on on the 13th of June. That was a Monday, and that night, AC. By the way, if you're watching my notes, AC means after the close. So most of the things occur. The planets don't go home at 5 o'clock. You know, they're working 24 hours 7. So most of the time, what happens is overnight. So we had a full moon that night, the night of the 13th, and it was in the sign of Sagittarius. More importantly, it was at perigee. That only occurs with a full moon. Perigee is the closest point. That only occurs about every 14 months, and that's when the moon is close at a full moon. And that sort of gives you an extra powerful full moon. Keep that in mind because we get one more of these next month, and then it phases out, and you won't have this again for another 14 months. But we might get a repeat of the effect of some of these markets next month. Okay. So anyway, there's a full moon. Anytime we have a full moon, new moon, we round up the usual suspects, which are financials, grains, precious metals. Then we had a point to the planetary event to what we call the U.S. natal chart. That's based on where the planets were on the 4th of July, 1776, and when the country was founded. And anytime we have that, we look at U.S. stocks, T bonds, and U.S. dollar. And then we had a Mercury cycle point on the morning of the 16th. Anytime we have Mercury, we have the grains, corn, soybeans, wheat. And by the way, all these things apply to the stock market. They're the big basket, everything. Whereas the commodities are narrow filters. They only respond to certain things. Then over the weekend we had 3 points. The weekend of the 17th we had 3 points. Saturn to Neptune. That was for coffee, copper, oil. Then we had Mars perihelion. That's in Mars' 2-year cycle around the sun was at its closest point. And then we'll be looking at corn and gold. And then also we have Jupiter lining up with the Neptune of the U.S. chart, and we have U.S. stocks, T bonds, U.S. dollar, and because Neptune's involved, we have oil. So here's how it all came out. Remember, the rules of the game are that if we're going sideways, we do nothing. It's Newton's law for every action, the opposite equal reaction. So we want to see the market going up into our time or down into our time, but not sideways. Sideways means we do nothing. And here's corn going sideways on our first 2 points. So that's a yellow box, and we do nothing. There we have over there the weekend of the 16th. Monday the 20th was a holiday, so no market. And when we came back on the Tuesday morning, the 21st, it kind of was on the low side there of that spike high. But you could have, right within the range of that high there, could have sold against that high. And then you would have had a nice trade because there was a big drop in the corn market. Beans had a drop into our first point, the moon, and if you bought there, then you had to wait a day or two. The next day was the low, that section, and then the next day we had another point, the morning of the 16th, and then we had a little pop up there. These markets are so volatile that these smaller moves are actually a sizable amount of money, even though they don't look like it. I think that moved about 50 cents, about $2,500, and then they had a big drop. Hopefully you got out before we use stop losses, by the way, so you don't just write it down. It starts going against you, you get out. All right, next one, we had the wheat going sideways, so we do nothing. Then it dropped into our morning of the 16th point, and that was a little low there, and it popped up, and you would have made some money. Here's your coffee. Had a one-day sharp pullback, and right there, over the weekend of the 17th into the Tuesday opening, and then it had a nice pop up. That was good for about 10 cents, which is coffee is a bit of a beast, so 10 cents equals $3,750. All right, here's crude oil down, down, down. It's another huge volatility market, and we made a low there. We had 2 points for oil there over the weekend of the 17th, and we had made a low there, and it had a little pop up for about $5, which is about $5,000. There's copper dropped and had a little pop up there for about 5 cents, which is $1,250. And then you had silver. This was really clear signal here. A nice drop right into the moon and then right back up. And that's about a $1 move there, which on the big contract is $5,000. Here's gold, had a big drop right into the moon, made a low right there. That was the low of the month. And then it was rocket time after that for about 4 days. So you had a chance to make some money. We also had Mars perihelion over the 17th weekend, and that turned out to be a small loser. Okay, so then we have S&P here. We had 6 points for the S&P. We had a low for the moon. That worked. And it popped up about 50 handles, I think. And that's $2,500 on your S&P money there. Into the next day, we made a top there. We were looking for a point there with the 14th after the close. I think that was a U.S. point. Then down into the morning of the 16th was another point, and then we went, and then that was a good for. Let's see, what did we do there? Oh yeah, and then it popped up over here, made some money, but then we were looking to go short on the morning of the 21st, and that was not good. You would have taken a small loss there on those 3 points. Here's bonds down, down, down into the moon. There you're right on the lows for the month, on almost went a little lower here on the bonds. Had a second point here, the U.S. chart, and then it had popped up, and then that is about good for about four handles there. That's $4,000. You made a top there for a little pullback for a couple of handles down. Every handle on bonds is $1,000. The currencies were excellent. Here's the U.S. dollar making its top right there on the moon and the U.S. point there. And here's your Aussie dollar coming down right and making the low right on the moon. And here's your British pound doing the same. And the Canadian dollar, not as good, but still did pretty much the same. And here's your euro. It was making a low one day. The next day it made the low, and then it was rocket time straight up. And then the yen was just going sideways, so that's a pass. And then we had the Swiss franc making this low right near the moon there, and then rocket time for that. And so if you add up the green arrows and red arrows, we had 23 winners, 4 misses out of 27 is 85.19% winners. All right, well, here's what's coming up. We just have a few points coming up here tonight. We have Neptune turning retrograde. Keep in mind the market has to be moving up or moving down. Be watching the stock market because that applies, all these points apply to the stock market. And in particular, keep your eye on oil. Oil stock market was kind of a nothing market today. It was meandering, small moves. It had ended with a small down day. But the oil market was up a couple of dollars, so that might be setting up for a top here. We might stretch out another day because the next day, tomorrow night, we have a new moon, and so that might pull the Neptune point one day later. But that's going to be watching financials, greens, precious metal, in particular silver, and then we have a point to the U.S. chart, which is U.S. stocks, T-bonds, U.S. dollar. And so keep in mind, this stuff may look complicated or foreign or whatever, but once I instruct you for a few hours or whatever, a little while, you'll discover that nothing is over grade school level here. I don't have any advanced math, nothing complicated. So you got some new terms, new concepts, and that's about it. So I've been doing this about 50 years now. I started the astrology back in the early 70s when I was in college. I started investing, was successful enough to buy a membership on the then fledgling Chicago Board Options Exchange in 1975. I was there 12 years, also traded on the Chicago Board of Trade floor. And all that time I was studying everything I could get my hands on, GAN, Elliott wave, cycles, astrophysics, fractals, you name it. I studied it. All right, so looking forward to helping some of the folks. You can call me. I'll help you out here with some of these terms you may not know or whatever, give you a free class. And you can reach me here in beautiful Naples, Florida at 239-594-3939 or email me at Winski at EMBARQMAIL.com, or you can call me on Skype at Winski, NWINSKI _digit 1. looking forward to helping some of your folks, Jeff. Everybody
Okay,
have a great day.
Norm, thanks so much. Looks like we have three change in trends after the close this week, so we're going to have to keep on our toes. Norm, thanks as always. We'll see you back in a couple of weeks.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
a lot. Take care.